Alright, so today we're going to install or put together or construct a backroads ATV and mower lift. This is the 300-pound version. Just kind of wanted to walk. I looked online. I couldn't find anything that showed this being put together, and so I figured I'd do just a real quick video on how to put it together. Basically, I've laid everything out kind of where I know where it is. What you're going to need is 2 3/4-inch wrenches. And you're also going to need a half-inch wrench, and also you're going to need a 7/32 Allen wrench to put all this together. Also, not pretty handy to have a pair of needle nose pliers. All of these pins are gonna go through the places on the tubular frame, and then there will be a spacer, and then looks like a little cotter pin, but it's a whole lot easier if you put it over the show you right here. You put it over the end of it and then twist it over. That's a little bit easier way to do that. So the first thing you're going to do is lay the piece with the wheels down. You're going to lay it where it lays flat and the wheels are kind of up. And then you're going to get this piece right here that has the locks on it, and you're going to place it where the tab goes towards this. There's a tab on the top of this. Hope you can see how the tab goes down here. But that tab there is going to go towards the tube metal that goes in the middle here, and then you'll put the bolts through, and then a spacer and a lock washer and a nut. So it'll end up being bolt and a spacer and a lock washer and then the nut. I'm not going from the instructions, I'm going from my brain and what makes sense. So the next thing I'm going to do is put the hydraulic ram on it, and what you're going to do is you're going to place it where the access to the jacking device is on the right side, facing away from this tubular thing. This is where the jack feet will be, and so you'll need to crank it or jack it from back here. And what happens there is there are those Allen bolts that will go down through the pre-drilled holes, and then another spacer and a lock washer, and then the nut. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to find this piece here that has that on it, and that is going to go on the bottom here, and there will be one of these long shafts, and on each end of them will be a spacer and then a cotter pin, and I'm pretty sure that is this one going here, and that is going to go through the metal tube and then out through the square tube, and then another spacer and another thing. And with this, you can undog the locks, and it'll lock like that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put the handle on. So the handle is going to use another short pin. I've just had it in my hand. There it is. It's going to go through that and then through the top of the hydraulic ram. And then out the other side. And of course that will require a spacer and one of those little special cotter pins. Alright. Next thing we're going to do is this piece right here, and it has a sticker on it that says strap ATV to this bracket, and it's pointing this way. This handle is going to end up being completely, perfectly parallel to the ground. And there are two bolted in pins on the inside of it, and they should have a washer on them, and then we'll put that on it, and then we'll do another spacer. I'm sorry, not a washer, spacer. A spacer and then a pin, and the same thing on this side. It's a spacer and that pin. All right, so now that's there. Now we're going to have another pin that goes through this thing that you just put on, has that tubular bracket, and then it's going to go through this square tubular metal. So that's going to roll through there, come out the other side. You'll have a spacer and then a cotter pin. Now the next thing is this long square bar, and it's just going to roll through the middle. Now there's going to be a pin that goes down the middle, and you'll want to line that up with the middle of the bar. So that's going to roll through there, and then you'll have that. And so we'll have the pin going through, and then a spacer, and then the cotter pin. Now by now you can kind of see it taking shape. The other thing that we're going to do here is we're going to have two bolts and nuts that are going to connect the ram and the handle down to this bottom tubular frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the oil pressure on the ram and let that come down until I can line up the holes here, and then we will put the bolts through the holes and then out the back, and then there'll be a nut, and it is a lock nut on the back of it, and then the same thing on the other side. And these are as well. You don't want to gorilla these down too much because this is a pivot, but you do want to make sure that it's not going to fall off because you got a lot of weight on this thing. So be cautious when you're putting it on that it's not too terribly tight. By the way, the instructions on this thing are awful. Okay, the last thing we'll do is put these feet on. And they're going to just right on here, and you'll notice that there's a number of holes that can be pinned where you can adjust for the size of the front wheels of your four-wheeler, the back wheels of your four-wheeler if you're using this to jack those up. And then the pins that go through here will adjust, so you can adjust out for the width of your axle and your four-wheeler, and then you can adjust for the size of the wheels that go into here. If you're doing a lawnmower or something like that, you can. It's really easily adjustable. So you'll see here's the two pins, and we will slide them through, the same kind of deal. And the same thing on the other side. Alright, and there you have it. Now it is constructed. You can see that right now there's also a jacking pole and a little handle where you can just drop that and elsewhere keep it. So when the oil is released off of the jack and the locks are disengaged on the side, you'll be able to move this up and down. You'll also notice that if there's weight on these locks, you cannot unlock them. There's just too much force on them. But once they're open, then you can release and it'll drop down. And that's that. It's a pretty neat little thing, and hopefully a good addition to anybody's shop. So thanks for watching. Get out there, RV, work on your stuff, fix it. It's a whole lot cheaper to fix it yourself than pay somebody else to do it. But make sure you're at church on Sunday.